What if I told you some of the most developed, stable, and iconic nations in the world are quietly edging toward collapse? Yeah, I know. You're thinking, Europe? Collapse? That's the continent of culture, cappuccinos, and complicated bureaucracy. But beneath the cathedrals and the cheese platters, Europe is cracking. We're talking debt mountains higher than the Alps, aging populations that could fill retirement homes the size of countries, and political systems spinning like a washing machine on overdrive. So sit tight, because today we're counting down the 7 European countries most likely to crumble, crack, or just combust. This isn't doom porn. It's data, sarcasm, and cold, hard economics, served with a glass of existential dread. Number 7. Spain. Sunshine, sangria, and slow collapse. Spain, where life's a party until the bill comes due. Spain's economy looks solid at a glance. Beaches booming, tourists pouring in, tapas everywhere. But behind the fiesta is a long hangover. Public debt? About 108% of GDP. Unemployment? Nearly 11% overall, but youth unemployment? 26%, the highest in Western Europe. Temporary contracts? 1 in 4 workers has no job security. GDP growth? Forecasted around 1.8% for 2025. Not bad, but far below what's needed to pay off its mountain of debt. And that housing market? Rents in Madrid and Barcelona have skyrocketed over 40% in 6 years. Young Spaniards are living with their parents into their 30s, not by choice. Spain's economy is powered by tourism, but that makes it fragile. A global slowdown, a climate shock, or a geopolitical crisis, and boom, the fiesta's over. Spain is the friend who always feels fine, until you realize they've been living on sangria, sun, and credit for a decade. From beaches to bureaucrats, let's visit a country where collapse looks classy and debt looks fashionable. Number 6. France. Liberté, égalité, fiscal fragility. France is the land of elegance, fine wine, and protests that could rival Broadway productions. But beneath the romance lies a fiscal storm. Public debt, over 112% of GDP, and climbing. Deficit, a fat 5.5% of GDP in 2025. Economic growth, barely 0.8% and slowing. France's pension system eats 14% of its GDP, the second highest in the OECD. And that reform that raised the retirement age from 62 to 64, it barely dented the deficit, but it nearly brought the country to a halt. Add inflation hovering around 4%, a restive middle class, and a political scene split between far-right and far-left populism, and you've got a recipe for paralysis. The danger isn't a sudden collapse, it's stagnation. An overregulated, overspending state that can't move fast enough to compete globally. France is like a fine cheese, aged, expensive, and slowly collapsing under its own weight. And if France is wobbling under its welfare system, wait till you see the country that practically wrote the debt to GDP horror story. Number 5. Italy, the debt that ate Rome. Italy, home of beauty, culture, and the highest national debt in Western Europe. Let's check the numbers. Debt to GDP, around 137%, second only to Greece. GDP growth, a dismal 0.7% for 2025. Youth unemployment, over 20% in the south. Italy's demographics are brutal. It has one of the oldest populations in the world. Every year, 500,000 Italians are working, while pension costs balloon. The government changes roughly every 18 months, and political stability lasts about as long as an espresso shot. Without EU support, Italy's debt market would implode. It's that simple. Italy's economy is a beautiful ruin, ancient, chaotic, and held together by mozzarella and hope. Number 4. Greece. Remember when Greece went bankrupt in 2008 and nearly took the Eurozone down with it? Good times. Well, 15 years later, it's still not out of the woods. Debt to GDP, about 165%, the highest in Europe. Unemployment, still 10%. Youth unemployment, near 25 to 30%. Tourism makes up 20% of GDP. Great in boom years, catastrophic in busts. Yes, Greece's economy grew 2% last year, but that's after a decade of contraction. Real wages haven't recovered to pre-crisis levels. The country's economy still runs on borrowed time and borrowed euros. From the ruins of Athens to the fog of Westminster, let's visit a country that Brexited itself into an economic identity crisis. Number 3, United Kingdom. The United Kingdom, home of tea, irony, and the world's longest economic hangover. Since Brexit, Britain's been living through the slowest recovery in modern history. Growth 2025, around 0.6 to 1%, the worst in the G7. Public debt, now over 100% of GDP, the highest in 60 years. Productivity, flatlined for 2 decades. Cost of living, food prices up 25% since 2022. And yet politicians keep arguing about imaginary boats instead of fixing the economy. Manufacturing's hollowed out, trade has shrunk, and the NHS, once a national treasure, is chronically underfunded. The UK didn't take back control. It took back the bill, and it's still paying, with interest. From an island adrift to a landlocked powerhouse losing altitude, our next country proves that control without trust can crush your currency. Number 2, Hungary. Hungary is the canary in Europe's coal mine, loud, proud, and struggling to breathe. Inflation averaged 8 to 9% in 2025, the highest in the EU. Currency, the forint has lost over 40% of its value in 5 years. Population shrinking fast, with hundreds of thousands of young Hungarians leaving for Germany and Austria. EU funding frozen due to corruption and democratic backsliding. Hungary's economy isn't collapsing. It's being staged for collapse, with government-approved lighting. And finally, number 1, the country that isn't just flirting with collapse, it's staring it in the face. Number 1, Ukraine. Ukraine is the most literal entry on this list. This isn't the financial crisis, it's survival. GDP fell 29% in 2022 after Russia's invasion. Recovery 2023 to 2025. Gradual, around 5% a year, still below pre-war levels. Infrastructure damage, over $500 billion and counting. Inflation, hovering around 9 to 10%. Foreign aid, over $200 billion, has kept the country solvent. Yet the Ukrainian economy still functions. Factories relocated, exports rerouted, tech and IT sectors booming despite the war. The resilience is breathtaking. But make no mistake, without international support, Ukraine's economy would collapse instantly. Ukraine's GDP chart looks like a war wound, deep, painful, but somehow healing. Europe isn't falling apart all at once. It's fraying, quietly, like an old flag in the wind. Debt, demographics, populism, they're slow poisons. You don't feel them until you do. But collapse doesn't mean ruin. Sometimes it means reinvention. The question is, which country hits the wall first, and which one finds a way through it? So tell me, who do you think will break first? Spain, Italy, the UK, or maybe the quiet ones, the ones no one's watching? Leave your thoughts below, hit like if you learned something, or just enjoyed the chaos, and subscribe if you want more truth wrapped in dark humor. Because history doesn't repeat, it just goes bankrupt in different currencies.